Hello and welcome here, everyone. We are excited to get underway with the Crunch Time Infinity League season. My name is Orbital. With me is Ice Fire, and we will be your casters for this evening. Of course, it's going to be a really good time, and as you can tell, the draft is already underway. We got Omega Gooners going up against Iceborn Travelers, and it's going to be a nice kicker because both these squads are fairly fresh to this league, and already we got the Sejuani and the Hui band away.
Yeah, Sejuani and Hui, two really good champions in the meta right now. Hui, that mage that just fires from a long distance. Like there's just nothing you can do if you don't have engage onto this champion, and they'll just artillery barrage you down with their 1 billion buttons, and I don't even know how many years we have of development into that champion. A quick Gnar and Ezreal follow up as well. Ezreal's been really popular, especially in the mid lane, which is a very surprising one. It's just one that came up and has really been taking over, and is very strong in that, allows it to get a lot of gold. And I mean, you don't have that back and forth that you usually do with that support, so it's a little bit safer for that Ezreal if you can ward off those ganks.
It's very just overwhelming in terms of the stat numbers, so it does have to be banned away. It's actually taken over prio of the likes of the Ashe and the Jinx priority in the ADCs, which is pretty interesting. We also had the Lilia banned away, taking that one away from the side of, I believe it is going to be Tonzo who runs that one pretty well. Also, Lilia is just strong overall. However, it's just a general top lane pick, which is quite surprising in my opinion. I would assume that you would like to get an ADC very quickly on the table and have that one kind of prepped on the side. But granted, with the pool that is currently open, I don't doubt it. However, the K'Sante picked up means that OMG is already starting to build up a very frontline heavy roster.
Yeah, it's surprising to take the K'Sante so early on in this draft. You're basically blinding your top laner, and it's going to be matched immediately by Cho'Gath, one of those champions that kind of just always scales up. And with that true damage, you have excellent objective control. You always have kill pressure in lane after that point. Even if you're tanky, that damage really does start to stack up and hurt. And then followed up with an Ashe, like you said, just a super oppressive ADC, can also be swapped to that support role if they want. And overall, just one of these really good, just overall champions in that bot lane. Ziggs, though, is an interesting pickup.
This one feels a little bit, I don't know. It feels very lackluster in terms. It's very safe, be able to keep the waves clean and ensure that there's a battle line drawn. However, I haven't seen it too much in the recent meta, but I like it. I like the pickup. I like the ability to have it on hand. It still does free up a lot of mid lane options. Ziggs itself needs a little bit of safety and it needs another aggressive state. And I like that. The Viego coming in here for OMG puts a very nice aggressive forefront, means this early game is going to be a little bit trickier. And travelers do have to realize that you have a relatively different, and there's what I like to see. If you pick up Ziggs in any range, you go ahead and invite the likes of assassins to jump on you. If this LeBlanc is locked in, and it is, that is a very strong early game contender for travelers.
Yeah, I really like that LeBlanc pick. One, it's a takeaway, or it's a pickup for BurgerKing, who has 39 games on the champion. This split already at a 69% win rate. That is a very high percentage win rate on this style of champion that typically wants to sit more around that 55 to 50% mark in terms of the win rate percentage, if not lower, considering how technical of a champion it is. But Vex, they don't think that that Ziggs is going to be going mid lane. They expect that to be going bot lane, considering it's a Vex banned out by Travelers.
And I can actually get behind that. I think WAF actually plays it quite a bit. If I do remember taking a look at things, so go ahead and say, yeah, that is going to be the denial tool, and it's not too bad. I don't think WAF has too much in there, but it can be tricky to play against. I think it's so you go ahead and say, cool your jets. We won't deal with it right now. Of course, you still just want to take away the option of the flex. That's the other side of it. Don't let the flex happen. The Milio's still banned away. I like that. Make sure that you don't get that forward in. If you can block it, the Milio can actually deny the LeBlanc coming in. We'll figure out what that last ban is as we are waiting for OMG to figure out exactly where they want to go with this. You're looking at that jungle as well as that support role. Where do you want to place these last few bans?
And that is going to be a Braum ban by the Travelers. Uh, so it is
An
quite
ally
the
in response.
interesting. And then an Alistar. So They might be looking for a Leona angle, and there it is. The Leona angle, if you ban out Braum, because Braum is a hard counter to Leona, and if you can get that champion taken off the board, it really opens up the availabilities of what Leona can do, not only in lane, but also outside of lane with the roaming potential and the team fight potential that it has. So I really like them banning that out and saving that support pick. So it's going to be an Ashe Leona bot. We have to see what OMG decide to finish out their comp with. Is this Ziggs going mid? Is it going bot? We're about to find out here. I'm guessing it's going to go bot lane, though.
It feels like it's leaning that way. I mean,
Yeah.
LeBlanc, if you are calling out that counter pick, you can actually counter the counter pick in this situation. And there it is. The Malzahar is locked in. Now, here's the deal. I will say in a skill disparity issue, the LeBlanc can still win out in certain situations. The Malzahar is really that mid to late game pickup, but I do like it. OMG saying, okay, got to take a step back. Here's a support option, though. With the engage that is currently on table, you can go Janna, which is another denial tool, but I like this better. I was going to mention the Nautilus because the Viego needs a go-in buddy. Yes, Cassante is going to be there, but I like the forward momentum. This is a solid lock-in, and now Travelers seeing this composition say, can we bully out this mid-bottom lane? Because this is a lot of AP in the solo lanes right now.
They need a dive buddy for the LeBlanc, it feels like. There's just no one that can go in with her and kind of combo with it. So if she ever goes in solo, it's very easy to blow her up. So I want to see something that can go in with her out of the jungle. The Sejuani is banned out, but Vi's still available. They're going to choose an Olaf.
Oh,
That is an interesting pick.
I mean, it's
That is a
interesting, but
left
also
field
makes
one.
sense. Like, out of
Yeah.
all the pieces that you could have selected, you take a look, we called dive. This isn't exactly dive. Don't get me wrong. It's not a true dive in the sense that,
No.
hey, you have leap in or anything, but it just runs straight through the front gate. I can get behind this.
I really can. It negates a lot of what their champions want to do on the side of OMG. The unstoppable that Olaf can get. I mean, you don't have to worry about Nautilus. You don't have to worry about the Ziggs satchel. The Cassante isn't going to really be able to do anything to you. Same with the Viego. And if I remember off the top of my head, that means Malzahar.
Okay. So we have gotten a little bit of information that Olaf is not an Olaf. It is a Graves instead. So not really a dive buddy. Still a decent amount of damage behind it.
I mean, that adds a lot of damage that you're lacking in the composition, it felt like, on the AD side of things. Ashe is not one that you typically take for the damage. You take it more for the utility, the slows, the vision potential, and of course the overarching arrow that you can just long shot somebody with and set up some amazing plays. But now with that Graves, I really like that. I think that's some good damage. It's not the Olaf, it's not really what, it's not a dive buddy per se, but it gives you a very good skirmishing power and one of the few champions that can handle Viego early without too much trouble. Because you're going to want to skirmish early with this comp.
Yeah, you want to get in there, you want to get in the mix, you want to get in their face as much as possible. And granted, this is one of the best enablers, I think, for it at the end of the day. So we'll see if that does help out. Right now, we are still questioning exactly who is going to come out on top. I will always say I don't like double APs in lanes no matter what. So OMG kind of leaning on the back end. I'm looking at the Viego and Cassante to really kick up. But honestly, Icefire, we got to ask you, where do you decide to lay down your chips? Because I mean, both comps have their ups and downs. We know we can kind of overwhelm with that damage. Does one side lean more than the other?
I'm going to give it to Travelers, but I want to see it's purely based off of their bot side potential. If they play around their bot side, get this LeBlanc going, get this Graves going around this bot side, combo it with the Leona and get some early kills, I think it can really take off and do well. If that doesn't happen, though, I think that OMG have very good opportunities. They have a very simple comp to execute on, and I think even at this elo that it is, 600 cap is what we're at now. So 600 is the soft cap with an 800 hard cap with the exception player. It's a significant jump up there. And at that level, you should be able to play different styles of compositions, but I always feel that simplicity helps out in teams, especially if you don't practice a lot or it's early on in the season. So OMG have opportunities because of how simple it is, but I think the Travelers, if they can get going early, can absolutely take over and win the game.
All right, well, there you go. Some thoughts from us here on the cast. And I mean, I'm excited to see if it does come out here. So we'll see if either team can step out to a dub and a clean one at that here at the start of the early season. Don't go anywhere. We're going to go to a short break. Make sure we're good to go. Make sure all the PCs are loaded and the hamsters are running in the wheels. And we are going to swarm onto the Rift as quickly as possible. The Crunch Time Infinity League. We'll be right back. And we are here ready to go. Game number 1 is on the table. And once again, it is Omega Gooners versus Iceborn Travelers. For the Gooners, yes, I'm going to be saying that a lot. It is Tonzo in the top lane, Ritty in the jungle, Yuune in the mid lane, Waff at APC, and Garrett at support.
Yeah, and for the other side, for the Travelers, we have Svoboda. That's a mouthful. We're gonna call them Boda. I think that's gonna be a good one. Łìght, BurgerKing, Humphreys, and Mehjojo. To line them out from top to support. And it was just a simple 5-point start. Viego sitting back a little bit, expecting one of those early wards to come out onto Raptors that we see all too often nowadays. But really nothing crazy coming out from these teams to start things off, and now we see the late ward coming in by the LeBlanc, just making sure they can track where this Viego is. That's going to be crucial for them to set up some of these very initial plays that they have to set up to get this Graves, to get this LeBlanc going. And you can already see opposite sides of the map for these junglers to start, just to make sure that they can try to play around this bot side.
I would just like to point out as well, TSM BurgerKing is now my favorite player over there on the side of Iceborn Travelers. Throwback to the GOAT, Bjergsen, from the OG days. RIP TSM, but, you know, OP out there for Bjergsen. Right now, though, playing that LeBlanc, famously played, by the way, I would like to point out, inside of, I believe, it was the Battle of the West Coast, or Battle of the West Side. It was NA versus EU, where it was the first season that Bjergsen that hopped over. So I think that's really cool. Just a shout out there. Meanwhile, on the bot side, Garrett is getting eaten up. I didn't think the level 2 was going to hit that hard because I thought they hit it at the same time, but Garrett ate a lot of damage there.
Yeah, Garrett deciding to flash really late on that. So the Ignite was burned by Mehjojo, and it took him down to sub 100 health. And from that, it makes it really rough for Nautilus to really start off anything in this lane. And already another really good trade, and that actually...
Oh, yeah, Yuune, I was waiting for BurgerKing to flash on that one, and I feel like you could have if you use your clone, but of course, at the current moment, you have to play a little bit safer, and I mean, for Yuune, you just want this cannon minion. You want the cannon minion so bad. If you can get that one, then you can recall, and it won't be awful. But the trades coming out of Iceborn Travelers makes sense. You mentioned before, Ice, this is a squad that very specifically wants to tango early.
It is, and they're doing a good job with it already, just making sure they can. And for Yuune, this is going to be a very, very rough lane. They're already down 5 CS, and have already, of course, had to use their potion as well. With their what do they call it now? With the Malefic Visions, it makes it actually very hard if you're not used to playing the champion on timing when that goes off and the bounces and how that works. So you do lose early CS, but it makes CSing later on very easy. Because you can just EQW walk away, your minions will take care of the rest. But that's after you get your first item, and getting to that first item is going to be very, very rough for this Malzahar against Leona, because she can easily jump in, pop the shield, and then stun you up, which is usually why Malzahar can sit back so easily. But because she has multiple ways to pop that shield, it's not very good for Malzahar in these early levels.
You got to go ahead and make sure that you get that under control. Have to be auto-attacking properly, and maybe it shows that Yuune might not be the most experienced on this champion. At the current moment, though, we are seeing a little bit of advanced nice bait coming out from Garrett, and that's going to bounce Jojo right back into the mix. You flash over the wall to safety, but that's a flash to follow, and this one feels like it's going to be first blood. No chance Humphreys can help out. Mehjojo is going to be tossed to the wolves as Ritty, a Viego of all things, someone that drastically wants to snowball early, gets first blood.
Absolutely. I think that's really important for the Viego to get started early, and Humphreys playing very aggressive in lane without their Leona means that they're going to get chunked down very low as well. No mana on the Ziggs though, so going to get traded right back, but something to be wary of is both these ADCs are very low.
I mean, I don't think we need to say both ADCs. It's just one. Mid lane is actually in a much more dire strait because you have no flash. A final little buckshot is going to take your life as Łìght is going to take that kill.
Yeah, really good gank there by the Graves to make sure that they can get Leona set up, as that's an all-out from the Cassante there onto the Cho'Gath.
I mean, that one's pretty nice start. You're level 6 versus level 5, and it's pretty simple to do. Boda is, of course, over the wall and out. But that is a painful one to have. Tonzo, this first pick, Cassante, you mentioned before, the all-out is solid, but you need a little bit more than that one. Of course, roaming up to the top side, Ritty is going to try and fight this one. I think Boda is out. No, Boda stayed. Oh, that hurts. You had no idea, and you realize now you're in trouble, but the wave clear is good. Boda just hits level 6, so that is going to be that safety net that the Cho'Gath wants.
Yeah, I mean, they did use their little feast there onto the cannon, as Ritty's just going to focus on these grubs. I like focusing the first set of grubs over the dragon. It just gives you that early damage over time onto the turrets to start knocking down those plates and get you that little bit of extra gold. It's just slightly more impactful than getting the early dragon, I would think. But I mean, it's either or. You see the trade coming through and both work out for the teams. I think the Cloud Dragon is still very good for the side of the Travelers. It just gives them that little bit of extra move speed and such, which they do want to be dancing around these fights. They don't want to fight front to back in these team fights.
It just feels more like it's built up over time. Obviously, you got the kill in the mid lane, and you're allowed Łìght to move down. And it feels like it's more in response. You actually saw the hawk shot come out from Humphreys saying, hey, Ritty's on that on those grubs, got to take them away. So you go ahead and grab the dragon for yourself. It's not so much born out of we wanted it, it's we need to get it before we lose both. Right now, though, on the bot side, we're seeing a little bit of a dance of their own, and Tonzo in the top lane is also eating a lot of damage. Keep in mind that feast can be so destructive, and it might be on that low cooldown. Execution threshold is there, and that's just a nomsies out of Tonzo, and the bite yields another stack for Boda.
And I actually like the pickup of Cho'Gath into the Cassante, purely because when Cassante does all out, now we didn't see it in that interaction, but if Cassante alls out, he loses a decent chunk of his health bar, which just brings him that much closer to the execution threshold of the Cho'Gath. So I think that was a very beautiful pickup by the side of the Travelers to early pick up that Cho'Gath and just say, we will stand and fight this Cassante. We have no issues with it, because if you ever try to all out around us, we're just going to eat you.
It's rough, especially since you first picked it. And, you know, the Cho'Gath, this is something that I think Boda really wants to kind of lay down the law with. It's not a super common pickup. So if you can kind of put the fear in there with the Cho'Gath, if you can be that damage source early on and become that frontline beast, it means you kind of want out on that lane. You can see here, Tonzo, of course, fighting back, saying, hey, I can fight just as well given the opportunity. And there's the all-out that you mentioned, having that extra little burst of damage, and you should be able to follow up. But no, Tonzo has to let Boda get under the tower. So once again, these top laners kind of trading out with their HP bars, Boda trying to get life, and Tonzo just trying to push this wave in, secure their gold lead.
Yeah, for Boda, it is nice that with Cho'Gath, when you kill the minions, you do get health back as part of your passive. So that is a nice little thing to help you survive in some of these lanes. But in the bot lane, trade of ultimates there means that things kind of go a little awry.
Not so much. I don't think Jojo and Humphreys are really saying, it's going awry. It's they have the go-in tools, and this is actually something that I really like whenever it comes to go-in buttons. You have a crystal arrow and a solar flare, send it. Like, as long as you know the enemy jungler isn't going to be on that bot side, you have your jungler covering, send it. Like, what do you really have to lose in this instance? If you land the CC, you get the kills and it's a dub.
Yeah. I mean, that's a very good point. If you do land that solar flare, if you do land that enchanted crystal arrow, it just makes it that much easier. We're gonna have a gank here from Łìght.
You don't need ultimates. You don't need ultimates. You don't need that much. However, the tower is actually going to do so much work. Łìght barely gets out, but no, the final tower shot lands, and it is going to be a trade of blows. Ritty, I don't know, is going to be able to get in. You're going to look for that Heartbreaker, but the slow of the volley is going to keep you at bay. Still, though, looking a little bit dire. BurgerKing coming in for a little bit of a jump, gets a nice chain off. Ritty is going to get locked down here, and Waff has to stay. Of course, with the timing wise, you have the unleashed teleport. Still, though, dance of death right now as Omega keep feeling like they're being put on the back burner. Iceborn Travelers controlling this early game.
Yeah, really, really well done by Iceborn Travelers to come out and just be aggressive with the bot lane that they have drafted for themselves. And you can see, once again, a little bit of a wet noodle fight in the top lane as Tonzo and Boda are going at it. But I like to see what we're seeing out of the bot lane so far. Graves getting involved early is now it's going to be a 2v2 on the top side almost.
Yeah, it's
1v1s.
split 1v1s at this point. They're just like, we'll duke it out. We'll see what we get. But, I mean, they're safe for the time being. Still, though, I like the fact that you pointed out it is fighting pretty much consistently because these grubs are in for the play. Garrett is going to get rooted out. No double chain, but that's the CC. That's why you picked a Yuune, allowing for a kill behind. Boda trying to get in the mix, flashing forward. However, the damage is there. The resets are big. Ritty getting kill after kill after kill. Yes, you get a numb, but the kills are so good. Heartbreaker breaking the hearts of the Iceborn travelers as their travels are cut short. The kills were glorious and destructive, and Yuune is gonna melt one more. It will be a nice wash of 3 in the top side as Omega Gooners take the win.
They take the win. They take their prize of 6 grubs. That's gonna be huge for their sieging potential that Ziggs is amazing at. I mean, you know his satchel, once it gets down to 25%, he's going to be using it, and getting all 6 of these grubs just makes it that much easier for them to get to that point. You get those grub spawns, you get that extra dot. It's just amazing. K'Sante a little bit there as well. It's going to be mostly this Ziggs and this Malzahar. You can stack up the minions there too to help you take that, but it looks like we might have a little dive happening on the bot side. It is spotted out by the wards though, but they're not leaving him.
No chance to do so, and you got the arrow underneath. That means Waff is all alone, no chance to do anything, and it will be the kill. Depth Charge come out here. Mehjojo has to flash away, but it looks like Łìght might be on the chopping board as well. Remember, Omega have been the ones to fight forward, and Yuune is now going to jump in. Says, hey, you can't stay here. The kill trade is there, but it want to go to hook. Garrett gets in the middle, but that puts him in a dangerous spot. Omega Gooners step up too far. They gooned a little bit too close to the sun, and Iceborn Travelers cut them down a peg. Yes, Yuune is able to trade back. But overall, remember, that was a 2 for 3 as Iceborn Travelers are able to close that kill gap by 1.
They were able to close that kill gap. It took so long that people were coming back. I mean, it was a really good fight for Iceborn Travelers. The setup was a little bit on the wonky side because it was spotted out, so it allowed the roams to come out from the Malzahar, and it allowed time for Viego to get there as well. But overall, a good trade-off. I think that we need a little bit more of a pull away from the Iceborn Travelers to continue on for much further. That's a good pushback from the K'Sante into the all-out.
I mean, you can look for the kill, and this is the power. Boda used Flash earlier in a team fight, and Tonzo, after losing in the earlier stages, saying, yo, it's not going to happen this time. Omega Gooners go ahead and get their strong point. Remember, this is a blind pick. On the K'Sante, this leads into the factor that Tonzo in this series is going to rule the Rift if given the opportunity.
Yeah, really well done there by Tonzo, pushing them back, all outing, making sure that they avoid the knockups, but that's a suppress and a dead LeBlanc just right. Oh, no, no, there it is.
They're dead there. It took a little bit, but they're dead. Don't worry. Ritty is securing these kills. Ooh. Tonzo, TP in for a little bit of fight, is able to even things out. And in the 2 for 2, I still think it favors the side of Omega. Keep in mind, Ritty is now 5-1-2. This is getting destructive. Yes, Humphreys is going to be good, but quite honestly, an Ashe does not wield the same power as Viego.
No, Ashe does damage, don't get me wrong, but it's not as much damage as like a Fed Jinx or a Fed Kai'Sa or anything like that. When you get Jinx at 3-0-2 this early on, like, you're feeling good. With an Ashe, I mean, it's good, but it's not like take over the game status that a Jinx could be doing. So it's a wait and see moment, see what they can do with this Ashe, with the setup, and allowing Graves a little bit more time to scale. They have completed that collector, but Viego has that Kraken Slayer, and that's really the one item that they need to really start taking over.
I think they can do more than that, but we'll see if they can pull it off here. Give it a little bit of time and make their moves as, again, they go forward. Omega Gooners saying, yo, you gave us an inch, we'll take a mile. There's that shutdown. Boda jumping in the mix. TP'd a little bit late. This dragon is on the cards, and honestly, I don't think Iceborn Travelers can fight this one. Of course, Tonzo will not be joining in the mix, but the 4v4 squads and battle lines are drawn.
Battle lines are drawn, and I think that if Cho'Gath is ever alive and has their ultimate up, the objective is favored towards them. They're going to trade They're going to trade objective for tower and potentially a second one. As you can see just how fast it gets taken down because of those grubs, because of having all 6 of the spawns. That tower absolutely melted. They could have probably pushed for a little bit more if they wanted to, but electing to go in, steal that topside jungle, start to take away those resources as they transition into the second tower in the top side of the map. And you can see just how fast it goes down there as well. Ziggs taking it down past that 25% mark means that Satchel finishes it off. And I mean, they came online and they are absolutely taking over the rift with this Ziggs right now. There has to be an answer coming out from Iceborn Travelers if they want any chance to extend this game past 25 minutes.
I mean, they're trying. They're trying to throw down their answers, which is fight and push, but they're the ones getting fought on. This is a catch on the LeBlanc. Thankfully, the feathers are there to give you a little bit of speed up. That is going to be the Infernal Soul to play for. And that's a nice little escape that you may or may not have been expecting, but I don't think you really had that option. So a big part is we mentioned Iceborn Travelers have to fight early. They need to get ahead early. They need to get those dubs. The Graves is good, 3, 3, and 5, but that's in a vacuum. Outside of it, you struggle to get in. And we were really looking at Humphreys and Mehjojo to bring that CC value. Outside of that, though, Omega Gooners, from pretty much the outset of the early fights on the bottom side, have been willing to push that envelope, and as soon as they could, and I like the call, the macro has been their game plan. They never sat there and said, hey, we have to team fight or we need to team fight. It was control over the lane states, control over the map awareness, and that is where we saw WAF get so much extensive pressure and Tonzo getting those towers.
Absolutely, and I think that's a very important point to make.
No
as we
way.
See the all out.
No way. Okay, yeah, that was a good clone back. BurgerKing's like, yo, you don't get that kill. I was talking so much, and I was like, there's no way there's kill threat here. Of course, the kill threat is actually on the other side, as Tonzo is going to get jumped on here with a little bit of a chain route and no real CC and no cooldowns available. Or maybe so.
I think he gets out. He gets out.
No,
here comes
he's
Humphrey
running
and
the wrong way.
Okay.
In the initial fight, yes. In the elongated trade, probably not. There is going to be the blind, and there is the draw of death.
I mean, there was a second. If Jojo and Humphreys weren't there, I think he gets out through mid.
Okay,
but since
that's
they
fair.
were there,
yes,
he doesn't get out. So, but I mean, it's a really good point that you brought up about how these teams are playing differently, and it's all based off of what their compositions want to do. Omega Gaming, or Omega Goons, I'm sorry, the name change came through. They're all about that macro play around this Ziggs, around the Viego, around the Malzahar, splitting and stretching the map along with the Cassante. And then for Iceborn Travelers, it's all about fighting, getting LeBlanc, getting Graves going early. And they did a little bit, but not enough to overcome the amount of macro that comes out from the Omega squad. Plus, Viego is feeling really good at 6, 1, and 2. So for the side of Iceborn Travelers, you need to now hurdle. You can give up 2 dragons and still be fine. You can give up a Baron and still be fine if you can stop the waves from crashing. That's the big thing. You cannot let waves crash into your turrets for free. You need to be collecting them as much and as often as possible, as BurgerKing might be in a little bit of a pickle here, as there's 4 people there. Yes, you're a LeBlanc, but it's still a 4v1 with a Herald there as well.
I think you should have double jump plus flash, so you are going to get jumped on here, but a flash away, but there it is. The Heartbreaker will seal the deal. Of course, you tried to call him back, but it still went to Yuune's hands, and right now, Omega Gooners are not going to be side. You can see all the recalls coming out here, and I wouldn't fault it if Tonzo decided to TP into the mix. This feels like a game-breaking moment.
But
of course, you go ahead and take 2 and just kind of leave it as is.
Sorry, I was looking at that. I was like, how many little grublings are there?
Too many. Too many.
That was an insane amount of grublings. But I mean, it is, from what Omega are doing, like it's been a quiet lead. Like they haven't had any explosive big team fights, as the Enchanted Crystal Arrow does land onto the Nautilus.
That's a good catch. Not the worst in the world, but I mean, you get something there. However, look at the extensive use. Flashes being blown, ultimates being blown. And this is right before Dragon. I'm not sure that kill was as worth as they assume it is. This is going to be a TP in as well. Tonzo's going to clear out this mid lane. And all of a sudden, the rest of Iceborn Travelers realize they might be in a little bit of a sticky situation. That's going to be Kasante dropped in on. You dash away from the knockup, and you are going to be silenced for just a little bit. But in a 4v5, I still think Omega Gooners have the ability to duel this out if they wish.
And Nautilus is up in 1 second. It'll take him a little bit to get here, but if they can delay long enough, I don't think there's too much issue for the side of Omega Gooners to really make a play for this dragon. They have a good fight here.
Yes, they do, but that's going to be the interesting wall. Tonzo wanted it, and a huge Mega Inferno Bomb came in. Jojo was taking a decent bit low, but look at the chunk. Remember, it's burst damage that the Mega have, and they do win it out. The low HP bars have denied the rest of Iceborn Travelers, and because this is not Soul Point, you're going to give it up. However, this is an Infernal Drake. It is not the same as a Cloud or Ocean. Omega Gooner is going to feel good about that one.
Very, very good. This is something that they want, that they need. They, of course, don't want to give over an Infernal Soul. And I love how they transitioned from that dragon play through mid, pushed that wave out. They have Malzahar going bot to make sure that wave pushes out. And look at how they're already setting up a play around this Baron, trying to pick off Łìght, trying to find a player in this jungle that they know are there. And here comes the play.
I mean, it's just another catch, and Omega Gooners, they just give no room for quarter. The lights are turned out. Boda is dropped up. The Boba T is too strong. And Omega Gooners are just feeling that much better. It is 2 for 0 crucial members as well. Those are your CC and damage output, leaving Baron readily available.
And I think that was the perfect play for them to make. They transferred from the dragon into the Baron side. Granted, they didn't drop any wards, which is a little disappointing to me, but they're just playing for turn here.
Oh, but that's going to be a good kill. Boda is going to leave their life for the stack. You know what? I like it. You stop the Baron, and it's not the worst thing in the world. Still, though, price to pay.
There was a price to pay. I think that's a very worthy price to pay for stopping that Baron. I think that was a little bit of an ego Baron in a sense, only because, ooh, that was just barely missing. But I think that was a little bit of an ego Baron. They didn't do any prep ahead of time, and that's something I always like to harp on, is you have to do your prep for an objective. You have to push the waves. You have to get that vision control, and there's going to be a little tussle for that vision. That's good. You want that, because if you find a pick there, like they did onto Łìght, you can typically do that Baron. You can typically skip it, but it's still a little too early, and they don't have a great Baron taking team for them to be able to burn it. If they had something other than Ziggs, if they had a more traditional ADC, I say that's perfectly fine, but Ziggs doesn't offer a lot of damage to it. So that's why it's a little bit of an ego, a little bit too aggressive, and that's why they had to turn off and take the fight instead. But overall, very well done still to turn that still into a positive play for themselves, as they're starting to push out those waves, starting to get that pressure where they need to in order to set up for this Baron.
It's going to be one to watch for right now. Omega Gooners feel like they could probably close out this game. Are they going to be able to, though? That's a big question. Remember, for the opening season, it's always about, you know, kind of testing your limits. How far can you go in a match? At this current moment, they are just waiting. Look at the corralling, by the way, of Iceborn Travelers. Just all like, oh, God, we got to find something.
Yeah, I mean, they don't know where the rest of the squad is. I mean, they do know, but they're worried about any picks that could potentially happen. They can happen at the drop of a hat. You have that long range from Ziggs. You have the TP on the Kasante. Malzahar's already there, has the ultimate. And somebody, I mean, they have to match this Kasante push. It's going to be the Cho'Gath. That's the only one that's really able to do anything. But even then, look how many people Tonzo has pulled. That was 4 members pulled away from the top half of the map through mid because of him pushing, and he pulled back at the right time. Yes, they are able to walk back now, but just eliciting that kind of pressure for your team opens up so many possibilities on this top side to get this vision down like they're doing. It's shallow, but it's the start of what you need. It's the start of the new push into that red side jungle. Start taking away those jungle camps and start bleeding resources from the Iceborn Travelers.
It's just that slow chokehold. That very slow but agonizing, painful end of the game. And
It's
if you're Iceborn, you know this is coming. Like there's no way you don't know this is occurring right now. So they are going to be looking to try and hold on to their own right now. This is going to be knock-up territory as Boda is going to try and duel out. You do have 2.5 items, but you're looking at 3 on the other side, and you know Tonzo has that dueling strength. If you wish to go all out, that's going to be the draw, ensuring Garrett gets a nice EG chain, and all of a sudden Boda's got nothing in that tank. It will be an easy kill. Feathers galore, and Omega Gooners get control once again.
Yeah, really well done to have Garrett come up there. That was close in the mid lane there.
I like it. I like the ability. However, this is desperation time as Garrett flashes in for that CC. You jump forward with another. That's just execution. And BurgerKing has nothing. This LeBlanc was counter, denied the early game. Łìght not allowed to travel more than 5 kills. And it will be this all-out aggression for this bot side tower. Nay, make it the inhibitor by 2 of Omega.
I think the inhibitor plays a little aggressive. I don't think they should be sticking around for that. You have Dragon up right now. Yes, they're able to get it. Yes, they're able to walk away with the mid as well. I think if you had a bit more coordination coming out from Iceborn Travelers, it's a little bit harder to take that. But now they get to walk back towards this dragon. I love the play. You aggress in, take what you want, pull back before you over-aggress, and take the objective on the back end as well. This is their second Infernal Dragon. It's really going to start to power them up. They're already hurting a lot. This is only going to stack onto that. And now, since Dragon will be off the table, they'll be able to focus back up towards that top side, back up towards that Baron, and leave Tonzo now. He can go mid, he can go top. He doesn't have to worry about the bot as there's a fight.
I mean, the fight is more just kind of clean up. BurgerKing's going to look for the angle. Yuune, though, flashes away and is safe. And remember, it's only 1 because the rest of Omega is just decimating the likes of the Travelers. They are going nowhere fast. Their wallet said, nah, you can only travel to about the kitchen and back. This is going to be Boda and BurgerKing destroyed and annihilated. They'll take Yuune with them, but Ritty is just too dang strong. With that being open, you can now shove your way in to the base. 20 seconds left on Łìght to respawn. But I mean, at this point, really, are you going to be able to deny this ending?
No, BurgerKing, it's I mean, that's a good flash from Waff there to just not die. But at this point, there's very little that Iceborn Travelers can do. They're going to struggle in this. They need that little bit of extras. They have 2 inhibs down. They don't have a lot of wave clear. That's the one downside, is if this comp got behind, there's no wave clear besides putting your body in danger with this LeBlanc. And that's the issue that they run into now, is they're trying to push these waves. I want to see focus towards the Baron. I think cleaning up this game, they have the slow chokehold, very LCK reminiscent of the old SKT Telecom T1 days, with how they have such a chokehold on this game and how they're playing it out. I want to see them now take this Baron, take this last inhibitor, and just close it out by the book. I think that will show really good form for this early on in the season, and that can show what we can expect to come from this team. For Iceborn Travelers, though, it's all about turtling, all about trying not to give up too much. I wouldn't fight around that last inhib. Fight around the 2 Nexus turrets that you have and make your last stand there. A little bit more damage coming out from both the turrets rather than just one.
Go ahead and just kind of give yourself the best case scenario, and that is going to be that best case scenario. You mentioned the Baron, you go ahead, prep for it, and you can take it with just 2 members. I honestly don't think the Iceborn Travelers can even touch this one. If they do, it will essentially be game over, because Tonzo is 5 levels up over Jojo. Jojo will get annihilated at this current moment. Jojo goes in, Solar Flare is going to land on Ritty, and Ritty is actually locked down, so maybe there's a chance, but Tonzo is keeping both the carries off, and that's going to be the problem, because that allows Omega to strike back. They say, yo, you only tickle us. There is nothing else that you can do. BurgerKing goes into clone form, and you are going to be next to nothing. Yes, you have killed 2, but you have lost 4. A final tag of the Militia Visions, I think, will almost push BurgerKing out of this fight, and they do. Still, it is Omega Gooners to go ahead and look to end this game.
Really well done by the Gooners to win out on this game. We have the formalities left. It's only BurgerKing versus the world, trying to make something happen, trying to make the Whopper the top of the burger chain again, and it's just not happening. They go down. as Waff hits them with that little toss of a bomb, and that's the Nexus going down. Really well played, I have to say. Very clean, very organized, coming out from the side of Omega Gooners.
You could see where the Travelers were trying to go to. The counter pick with the LeBlanc in the mid lane, the CC in the bottom side, heavy CC chain, and they fought early. Let's not put that past them. They did fight early.
No.
They did what they were hoping to do. The problem comes with the fact that you got a little bit overwhelmed, and I think it came into factor. They didn't really have any other go buttons outside of the CC chain. You mentioned it before. The Olaf would have been great, but the Graves jungle, it feels like it was just a power pick, nothing more than that.
There was no dive buddy to go with the LeBlanc, so anytime the LeBlanc went in, they just got Malzahar ulted, and from that point on, they would get blown up, which allowed the Viego to start to stack those kills. I mean, what they were like 6-1 and 3 at like 15 minutes in the game. At that point, you have to start looking about how can we change up our engage and not rely on LeBlanc to be the first one in, because that's where they're not getting any damage out. And then they just didn't have anything else across the map. The Cho'Gath as the tank didn't really do enough to withstand the Cassante, which is rough because I like the pick. I think there was options for it. It just didn't quite do enough. The Cassante played really well. And then from the bot side, they were skirmishing hard and heavy early. They were doing exactly what they needed to do. They were on their game plan. Graves was not involved enough, could not scale to the extent that the Viego did, and unfortunately fell behind because of that. Graves has to stay ahead, otherwise they're just not really doing much.
There are little bits and pieces here that for Iceborn Travelers, they got to pack their bag a little bit more if they want to traverse this gauntlet. Let's go ahead and go to a short break. We'll get back with game number 2 here in the Crunch Time Infinity League and see if we go to a game 3 or not. Please don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. And welcome back, everyone. We are here for game number 2, game 1, Iceborn Travelers. Right idea, a little bit rough execution with the draft and all that. We'll see if they can bounce back. Of course, for Omega Gooners, they're showing they love to goon with the best of them. You'll go crazy, you'll go ham, you'll play at whatever tempo you so wish. At the current moment, though, OMG still staying on that blue side because Travelers decided for the red, and we're seeing the same bans out. Keep that Sejuani ban, no worries there.
And we were talking in break a little bit about how that Viego played, and I expected this Viego ban to come out. It's just, it was one of the key pieces that allowed the side of the Omega Gooners to really take over that game in that top side of the map. They were 6-1 and 3 at 15 minutes, absolutely running over the rest of the squad, and allowed time for the Ziggs to scale, for the Malzahar to get to a point where they could lock down key members of the Travelers. So a good ban there. I want to see what OMG pivot to now with that off the table. I think that's going to be the big focal point for them, since they play around that jungler so well.
Go ahead and see what else you can bring out. And granted, I'm scared as well, but you can see still kind of funneling in some of those opportunities. You go ahead, still see the Tristana ban. It's one that was, I believe, gently nerfed this last patch. It was, I believe, increase in mana. 50 mana now cost for a Q activation, which is painful. Just go ahead, adjust that one out, and we'll see if it still comes up, because Ezreal's still on the table. It is rough, honestly. That's going to be a nard. There's the Ezreal ban. This, I think, is understood. It wasn't picked up in game number 1, but it's still a threat. First pickup for OMG. What are you going to bring?
I liked the Cassante. I don't think that's a bad pickup at all. I was wary of it because it was first picked, and it opens up the counter pick coming out, and that was Cho'Gath, and it didn't quite work out. So Travelers might have something a little bit different in the cards for them up against this Cassante, as we see the time ticking down for them on this pick. But overall, they're going to go right back to it, saying that was not the issue of our draft. But Cassante, I think, performed really well.
Yeah, I'm hesitant slightly, but I'm also like, okay, top lane, it can go either way, especially if the jungler can get unlocked there. Here's the difference, though. I love this call down. I was looking at the draft, and I was looking at the patch notes and saying, hey, Aphelios looks like it got some nice changes. Granted, a lot of people are saying the fundamental difference with the Aphelios is it's just the move speed. The problem of positioning is very difficult because it's short range, but massive damage buffs coming in for Travelers, or for the Aphelios, still, though, may not be matched with the Jinx, as that is both ADCs hard lock to the bot lane.
And those are both two ADCs that can absolutely take over a game with just a little bit of a nudge. I mean, Jinx, either she gets to 25 minutes at 0-0-0, gets that 2-item spike, 2.5-item spike, and can take over the game. But if she gets going like the Viego did in game 1, it's going to be very, very hard to stop her. Aphelios, that same thing. Once they get to 2.5 items, once again can take over this game. But Wukong picked up. That's gonna be going to jungle if I'm gonna take a gander at a guess, and that's gonna be in the very same vein as a Viego. Wants to skirmish, wants to get going early, and if they so do so, has a lot more utility than a Viego to turn a fight around.
Not the kill threat, though, and I think that's the other side of the coin that we got to look at. Hey, we were looking at Ritty just slaughtering everyone, and this time around, it's like, okay, I better.
Wukong has the ability to, if they get going. But yeah, you want that massive just ramp up of knockups that you get from the Wukong. And actually, so it's not an Udyr pick, it is a Vi pick. They're spamming it in chat right now in the client.
Oh, okay.
It is the Vi being picked up by the Travelers, and I think that's a necessary pickup there. I think Vi, with that lockdown that she brings, is another really good pick to try to get to this Jinx. Maybe try to stop this Wukong from getting in if that's so necessary, but with that missed ban, we are using Pro Draft, so it is a little bit different for these teams who are using Draft Lol. A little bit different
Used
systems,
to
that's
using
why.
it, yeah. It's just like, we gotta click buttons now. This is painful.
Yeah. Yuune gonna be banned. Interesting ban. One that can take over a game in the mid lane, and we saw how well that LeBlanc did perform. I don't think LeBlanc was that big of a concern for the Travelers that they picked it. I think it performed really well. And Yone's in a similar vein that can take over, can dash in and out of fights with that E. It's just getting into those positionings, but
Okay.
that is going
And
to be a
there's that
LeBlanc
Nautilus.
ban.
Oh, okay. Which is interesting considering LeBlanc was on the other side previously by Travelers, but the fact that we are seeing Nautilus ban, I think, gives a lot of nice priority towards that bottom lane. Travelers can go ahead and grab the Leona like they wish, but the Alistar can come into play. Anything to kind of save that Jinx can be a big bully. We'll see what they decide to throw down here. This is going to be an interesting one, though. Keep in mind for Travelers, one of the mainstays that we are wondering about is that mid lane. With LeBlanc out of the picture, you have to figure out how you're going to blind pick this or pick up your support, that's the other side, and run towards that mid with a counter pick. Rakan slightly blinded into this is not bad. I have not seen a Rakan Aphelios duo before though, so I'm curious how it's going to play out.
It's an interesting one. Typically, with a Rakan, with an Aphelios, you want something that can pull you out of danger. That's why that Thresh was banned. Aphelios needs that, like you mentioned before. Aphelios suffers from movement speed and from range. Rakan doesn't help with any of that. It has a little bit of shielding with the dashing, but really, Rakan is about using that grand entrance, getting that charm off, and kind of looping everybody together, which is great if you want an Aphelios ult. But in terms of the anti-dive that's going to be coming onto the Aphelios from the Wukong, from the K'Sante, it's not going to be great. That's something to keep in mind, and they have to play hyper-aggressive in this lane to keep Jinx and Mehjojo on the back foot.
I mean, you can already see it. You go ahead, drop in a little bit of extra peel on OMG's side. You go ahead, grab that Mehjojo. It's safe in the back line. But the Ahri locked in here. I will say this. I've never been a huge fan of Ahri, but it's still a very solid lock in here to combine with the Wukong. If this is a Syndra come out here, this is a nasty mid lane matchup. This can get nasty. It's like old school league mid. I'm going to be interested in this one.
I hope it's a Syndra. I love the Ahri Syndra matchup so much. It is very nuanced. It's very skill dependent. It's all about scatter the weaks and ultimates and charms. Now Syndra does have her outplay button. I don't really consider that a skill ultimate because you just hover, click R. That doesn't matter. But Ahri using her ultimate, getting in and out of the fight, dashing around to scatter the weak, where are Syndra's balls placed? That is going to be crucial. How does she use that to try to stop the Ahri? That's the skill expression on the Syndra side. For the Ahri side, it's all about dashing around, making sure you can get these charms, and get damage off. It's not going to be easy for either side to get a foothold in this lane because they can both pop off in an instant.
I like how you say the outplay button. I'm sitting here like, look, I play Syndra way too much, and I will always side with the Syndra. Syndra's hard skill. What you talking about? There's so much skill that goes into the champion. You don't ruin my Syndra like that over there. I love Syndra.
She has skills on 3 of her 4 buttons. Let's put it that way.
All right, listen. I consider point and click to be a hard thing to pull off because good Lord knows my hands don't work anymore. Right now, we're getting into this game number 2. It's going to be very interesting. Once again, I got to ask you, though, Ice, where are we leaning towards? Because quite honestly, OMG look like they can smash with just about any composition.
I'm going to lean more towards the OMG composition this time. I'm more of an Ahri fan than a Syndra fan. I think that Ahri does tend to win out just that little bit more over Syndra. She's just slightly easier to play around in team fights with rather than Syndra. And then the Mehjojo Jinx is just something that has taken over games in the past, and I worry about the bot lane of the Travelers. They were hyper aggressive in game 1.
True.
They got kills off, but it didn't really amount to anything. And Jinx, even if she's behind slightly, once she gets that 2.5 items, she just has range over most of Aphelios' guns. And there's, again, very little engage. You have the Vi, you have the Rakan, but you still have Mehjojo, you still have to worry about the Ahri, you still have to worry about K'Sante. Like, there's still other options for OMG to play through rather than just the Jinx. So that's why I'm going to side with OMG on this one.
I can hard agree with that one. It's just honestly, we can talk about composition all we want. There's still just pieces of the puzzle that OMG looked a little bit better. We'll see how it goes down, though. Maybe we are wrong. Quite honestly, I as a caster love being wrong whenever I am proven so. We'll see if it happens, though. Right now, Iceborn Travelers fighting for their first series victory. If they win here, they move on to a game 3, and we'll see how it goes. But for OMG, they are looking to start things off fresh with a 2-0 series. Don't go anywhere. Crunch Time Infinity League. We'll be right back. We are here, game number 2. OMG, look at those players and look at those comps. For Iceborn Travelers on the other side, you are sitting there going, this is going to be a little bit of a painful one. We'll see if they can throw down with the best of them. And if not, then they will start their season out 0-1. At the current moment, though, for the Gooners, they are going to be putting themselves in a pretty nice spot with those 5 that they have locked in, namely that Cassante looking pretty spicy. But the mid lane is where we're kind of watching because, again, in Ahri and Syndra, this matchup you were saying, a big kind of shift, a LeBlanc to a Syndra is a little bit of a gap.
It is. I mean, you're talking an assassin mage versus a control mage. Syndra wants to sit back, wants to let you come into them, or to find some blind spot picks with the scatter of the weak. And LeBlanc likes to dash in, dash out, you know, trickster your way in. Syndra's all about up in your face, that kind of play style with letting you come into them. So 2 different play styles coming out from the mid laner from BurgerKing. It shows their depth of play, their depth of champion pool. Can they come out on the same on a different champion at the same level is my question, and I sure hope they can, because I do want to see a game 3.
I think everyone wants to see a game 3, quite honestly. I think it's going to be a lot of fun if we do. So we'll go ahead and throw down with the best of them and see how it goes. Bot lane was another one that we wanted to watch for. Aphelios recently changed. Damage buffs are up. If that is going to be the main difference, that can bring a whole different punch to this game. But for the junglers, that's the other reason. Remember, these are not kill threat junglers anymore. Well, they are, don't get me wrong, but feels a lot more utility based with what they bring to the table, namely Łìght. I want to see what Łìght can do. Last game, 3, and 5, not bad. This time on a facilitator on that buy.
Yeah, a much different style of champion from Łìght. Playing this Vi, I think this is a champion that they needed in the last game. It did get banned away because they chose to pick up the LeBlanc instead on that B3. So now that they get the champion that I think they were looking for, probably, I want to see, can they get onto this Jinx? Can they get onto this Cassante? Try to eliminate one of these members from Omega early to maybe skew the fight in their favor a little bit, because last time, even with numbers, there was just very little that it felt like they could do, because they had no dive buddy with that LeBlanc. They had no engage to go in and set up these fights besides the Leona. So now that they have Rakan, they have the Vi, they have Cho'Gath, I think they have a much better time at trying to make a fight happen and turn into their favor. It's just, can they execute on it now? That's always the question.
Execution is probably the hardest part of any League of Legends game. You can get all the pieces into your side, but if you can't lay them down in the right order, you're not going to have that royal flush or anything of the sort. For right now, we're just waiting for this calm early stage of the game to kind of go by. I mean, Waff eating a little bit of damage, especially with the Graviton. It just feels a little bit different, but the Rocket's actually firing back, leaves both ADCs in a bit of a dire strait. And that's going to be the big question, because already pumping out those potions on the side of verticality is a little bit problematic. Of course, take a look at those recalls. Ritty and Łìght going okay. We got our clear. We got our grub. It's going to be all quiet inside of the jungle front.
They got the clear, they got the grub, they got wards in the jungle. That is going to be crucial for tracking this Vi, knowing where she's at on this map. And we saw a little bit of a tidbit in the top lane with Tonzo and Boda going at it. And I mean, it's just a continuation from last game there, but I want to really focus in on what this Rakan is going to be able to do. I think that's going to be the big difference maker. Jojo had a decent Leona game. It just was rough because they never got ahead. They never had damage behind them. But with the Rakan, with the charms, with the abilities that you can bring to the table and the flair, I want to see more coming out from Jojo in this game to really try to set their team up for success. And you can already see some good grand entrances coming out to start things off.
Go ahead and get a couple of the tags and just kind of sit in a nice little corner, if you will.
And that's... Ooh.
That's a lot more than I thought, actually. That's going to be, again, that Infernum can bounce pretty heavily, and they are just playing with fire. Honestly, if Verticality gets a single tag with the Calibrum, it can be death on Garrett. But Garrett, of course, playing very far back right now. They want to catch this big wave and not get themselves in trouble. Jojo, though, waiting for a chance. Mid lane is actually where we're seeing a lot more of that challenge, though. BurgerKing not really having that scout of the weekend. That puts Łìght in a dangerous spot, and the minions are going to help out a lot. That's first blood because of an overextension on Iceborn Travelers. That's going to be jump forward to flash, and that's going to be the knockback. You know what? It doesn't matter if Ritty dies because you got the double. Once again, the jungler takes control.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was Ritty who forced first blood last game, got first blood this game too, got the double kill. Now, BurgerKing does have that teleport, can just get back to lane, pick up the CS, so it's not a huge loss for them in terms of the CS. Actually has a decent CS lead of about a half a wave, almost to a wave now. But that gold onto Ritty is really going to start to hurt them, as they're going to be able to use that. We saw what they could do with gold last game. Wukong, not the same oppressive type of champion that Viego can be with the terms of damage. But if you hand him gold like that this early, already has the Sheen, already has the Phage, you're going to be feeling real good if you're Omega to start things off.
Oh, 100%. And it's just a world that they got to live in right now. We'll see how this goes, though, as it's a top lane gank and things are getting out of control now. It's a quick two-piece for the side of Omega because, yes, the dragon went down, but it's only one. Honestly, Omega, just like in game number 1, saying we'll control the lane states and we'll give you dragon as a compensation reward.
And I don't mind the grub take once again. Jojo getting very deep does get spotted out by Garrett. Though I think Garrett's going to be the one in trouble. Syndra is walking down. Ari's walking over to keep an eye on what's happening, but definitely a little bit of a tense moment there in the jungle, just trying to track these junglers. You can see how important it is for each of these teams to know where Ritty is, to know where Łìght is, because that's going to determine how you want to play out the rest of the next few minutes, really. As you can see, it's going to be a little bit of a vertical jungling situation as each jungler is taking each other's red buff. So, something to keep in mind is we have a potential dive happening in the bot side now.
Oh, no, this is going to hurt a little bit, I think. I mean, Łìght needs to make a play, and I like this call down. Now, is it going to work? That's the big question. Nah, Łìght's like, I can't, guys. I can't. I'm like half HP, Emilio as well to kick you out. It's not a good spot to be in. Whereas mid lane, we're just seeing gank after gank. We talked about this RA pickup. You mentioned the power it can bring. And when coupled with an aggressive jungler, you just put layups and buckets on the map.
And you can see what happens when you put a mobile mid laner versus an immobile mid laner. Syndra already burned the flash, has to play super safe as Wath is putting some damage onto Verticality and Jojo.
Pain is all I see. Pain is all I read. This is overall, once again, OMG. Maybe not as crazy as it was in game number 1. Because remember, Iceborn were one of the main aggressors in the early stages. However, this time around, it's just constant ability to do some work. They're going to go ahead and flash over as Waff gets behind him and pinches in behind. That is going to be the Moonfall Vigil just sealing their deal as it's another double kill for Ritty, who is 4-1-2 at the start. Waff saying, yo, I may be the ADC, but I'm the support in this case.
Yeah, it's a 2-support game with Jinx being support. And Garrett almost dying, has to throw out that ultimate to make sure they stay alive, but in doing so hands nothing over to the side of Iceborn Travelers, playing it out so well. Means that Wukong picks up another double. Tonzo might be in a little bit of a sticky situation. Łìght is here, but that knockup doesn't land. BurgerKing also roaming up for this. They are really trying to aggress on the opposing side. I like that they're trying to make something happen. When you see a play like that happen, you need to try to make something happen on the opposite side of the map. It's just the law of cross-mapping, right? Whenever you play League, especially at this high level, you need to be able to cross-map efficiently and as fast as you can. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't work out, as that was a good charm landing by Yuune. But
Yuune has been very powerful, by the way. Yeah, Yuune has been very powerful so far. Really helping out 1-0 and 2. And being able to help sustain in this lane, even with the Merc Treads behind, it's just so good. By the way, that nerf to Merc Treads possibly coming through is going to be feeling so bad, as that's almost a solo kill underneath the tower. Honestly, I thought Yuune could have done it It's not going to happen, though. You know that the Unleashed Power could come out, so you go ahead and very happily maintain this wave control that you are building up.
Yeah, they don't quite have the advantage in terms of CS, but they have the control over the wave. They're pushing it. It's going to crash in. So they've brought it back a little bit closer, and Łìght's now trying to make something happen on the bot side, but with that wave pushing away, there's just nothing to be done, and it feels really bad when you're a jungler in this type of situation that your lanes just can't do anything for you, and you're not able to make a play happen because you're just too far behind. I mean, you have a Caulfield's Warhammer to a full Triforce on Wukong at 10.5 minutes. At what point, as a Vi, can you just stand up and say, hey, I want to skirmish with this Wukong, come and help me? You just can't. You just don't have the stats. Wukong can just play around with a stat stick and be done with it.
You know, in the draft, I did say that Wukong is not really that carry. Nah, this is carry no matter all day long. Like, you got the damage, you got the brutality. It's down pat. I love the fact that you pointed out the itemization difference, because it's not only that, it's also the fact that Ritty has pretty much granted over a camp difference as well. Keep in mind, the Vi has been power farming. Between the difference, you've just been trying to sustain, but that will be closed very quickly. And this time, Ritty is able to grab all 6 grubs for no challenge. This is going to be a sustained difference, and Ritty's just like, yo, we're already winning most lanes. I'm going to help out the laners and ensure that those voidlings are once again in our control, and we can basically speed run the rest of the game. At the same time, we're looking at the top lane. Tonzo still 1-0-0 from the outset, has not really had that big of a difference. And for Boda, you're just trying your best. Only 300 gold down, but I mean, your job is to power farm, get those camps, and get that HP.
Yeah. And Łìght, it's all about the same thing. Just make sure you can get up as tanky as possible and hope that whenever it's time for a 5v5 that you can make something happen before you die with your cease and desist, because right now it's just not looking great for you. Pushing in, though, you have that timer on the red buff. You know that the Wukong took it a little later than you, just based off of when you saw them push in. You can take this pretty much for free. You have the bot lane pressure. You only have to worry about that Ahri roaming over. And for Ritty, it's just another free. You have control over the top side. You have control over mid. It's free game in this top side jungle for Ritty here. I love the play that both junglers are making. Vi still trying to make something happen even though they're behind.
I mean, they have to. You're level 6. You got to bump your way forward, and that's going to be the catch. Remember, no flash available, but look at the safety. Look at the defensive power. We saw it before. There ain't no way that you're going to get the kill, or maybe that's another tag. That's all you need. The chakra and fly strong. Agreed from Waff creates a problem, and that's going to be the kill.
That's a big pickup for verticality there. They've already been taking these turret plates in the face of Jinx. They have a little bit more of an aggressive bot lane with that Rakan, that it just means that they can push in on this turret and deal good damage to it. Now, K'Sante is able to do the same just because they have the damage over time on, have the grubs, and they've kind of been botting Boda, who I guess during all of that also died in a 1v1? I totally missed that.
It was... Again, it's K'Sante doing K'Sante things. At this point, you should never be surprised by a K'Sante 1v1. Unless the K'Sante is 0-3, and then maybe you're surprised. Quite honestly, it's just K'Sante things. I don't see that changing anytime soon.
No, I don't see that changing anytime soon, as Łìght tries to steal some Raptors away from Ritty, but it's not going to happen, as the Scatter of the Week missed from BurgerKing. You saw the Rakan there as well. I like that they're trying to make plays. They know they're behind. They're trying to make something happen. This is what you're supposed to do. They're only almost 3,000 gold down. It's close. I like that they're still trying to make something happen, because if you just sit back and say, oh, we're losing, there's nothing that we can do, is, again, verticality. Having to flash away there, but put a lot of damage out onto Waff, and looks like could potentially get dove if they're not careful.
Of course, the dive is completely mitigated as in comes Łìght once again, but they're just going to turn, because guess who's in that group of Ritty has to flash away. The deterrent is good. However, the chase forward is going to look for another brutality, but Łìght doesn't have much behind it. So it is that deterrent. It is that just denial tool. BurgerKing is coming in from the side, though. Might get a great scout of the week. You have flat. You might be able to get triple if you can, but you scout of the week only one. Dive into the tower only gets another clone. and it's gonna be the hold. Omega able to deny any extra value, but this will be the first tower going down here. Łìght really wanting to ensure that this is going to be the kill. Scout of the week lands, but Womp gets a great cleanse out of Garrett, and Garrett is now going to try and go back in. You get one kill, you get another Cyclone, but it is going to be the trade out. Top lane, though, another tower falls, and I think it was first tower to Iceborn Travelers. Still, though, considering how many resources went down, Iceborn Travelers feel like they lost out.
Yeah, they lost 2 towers. They got the one, they got the kill, but Ahri's in the area and they have an idea of where Aphelios is. They're not going to go for it, but overall, if you're Iceborn, if you're Omega, you're feeling decent about that trade. You know, you got Ritty another kill. Yes, they handed over a shutdown, but you're just letting them stack up time and time again, and they're already at an item and a half. They have that another Caulfields. They have another Phage on top of that Triforce. They're feeling strong, and they are almost going to have their boots as well once they get just a little bit more gold under their belt because they have those upgraded ones there.
It just feels good right now for Omega. They are looking strong, and Iceborn, they're feeling their hopes dwindle a little bit. Oh boy. This is going to be that struggle bus for them. We got to wait and see what they can throw down here and how it can help out. I mean, they got time. They still got time. They still got options, but I mean, I'm still waiting for WoF to pick up like 2 or 3 stray kills and just pop off.
Yeah, and that's with Jinx. They have their IE. They're almost there. I think once they get their next item, I'm hoping for something like a Kraken Slayer into this team that Iceborn has built. I think it's really good for the damage that you can put out as a Jinx, because they do have a decently squishy composition built. LDR would be a good third item, but getting that Kraken second, I think, would send your damage through the roof against some of the squishy members that they've drafted for themselves. That's where I think they need to be looking as a Jinx. And that's where they'll start to pop off. Now, for Iceborn, you've got a good start, right? It's not great. It's better than game 1. You're not as far down, and you have options. You have options to play around.
Okay, that's fair.
I think your comp has much better time at playing into what Omega has. You just need to actually utilize it a little bit. As we can see, Boda gets caught out a little bit, but overall, you can see Dash going in and out, playing a little bit, but BurgerKing cannot be taking those shots, otherwise they're just going to get taken down.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if you are Iceborn Travelers, you are hoping for the game 2 draft with the game 1 early game. Right now, though, it is going to be that engagement. Wukong goes straight to the backline, but the assassination by Tonzo leaves verticality completely horizontal and dead, 6 feet under. We are going to watch as WoF gets another, and now the resets come through. HP bars are low. If you get another one, it's big. Flash over the wall to make sure Yuune survives, but a charm left in the aftermath leads to 2 more. It's Omega Gooners to solidify those kills, and they'll secure their hard-earned dragon.
They secure the dragon. They only lost Ritty in favor of the 4 dropping of Iceborn. You're feeling good right now if you're Omega. Your Jinx is online at 1-1 and 5. Ahri has the Malignance already. So the Malignance build coming out, I think it's an interesting build. It's slightly less damage, I think, but it gives you so much in terms of your ultimate that I really like that. I mean, it's just so good.
Was always first item.
When it came out, it was. I think it took a bit of a knock. I don't mind a Luden's companion every once in a while if you need it. But Malignance, I don't hate it. It's just sometimes I like to see Luden's come out as well.
That's fair. Okay,
it's a personal preference.
Yeah.
You can see Hollow Radiance onto Tonzo, with the Heartsteel coming out from Boda once again. I think all these itemizations are actually really good coming out from both squads. It's nice to see that the itemizations are good. Like, typically, I always have a little bit of a gripe with itemizations. Here, there's nothing that I can complain about, which is nice.
Oh, man. This is going to be that one catch that you're like, okay, we got something out of there. It feels good, but it's like a small consolation prize at the end of the day. Oh,
they did get it onto Aphelios, which is the key target to get it onto. You want it either on Syndra or Aphelios. I mean, you got the one pick, but what do you have to pay for it?
Yeah, the other one comes back like this. Like, Ritty's like, yo, you kill my mid laner, I kill everyone. Peace out.
Actually, that was Tonzo that came in huge there. Got the double. Picked up BurgerKing. Also picked up Łìght. Like, Ritty putting in work to set that up, but Tonzo popping off. Just a cool, a cool, quiet 5-0-2 on Cassante. Just it's another day in the office. It feels like for Tonzo here.
Yeah, he's just like, he's flipping burgers and everything. He's like, we got the Burger King under lock. We're good. We're just making money at this point.
He says, I prefer McDonald's. That's what he says.
Oh, no. Listen, not McDonald's. This is I'm honestly, I'm a Brahms fan, which is local to my area. Right now, though, it is going to be Boda turned into a pancake and then some. That one hurts. The dinosaur left back in the dust. And at this point, this is going to be that gamble. Take a look at this. A Baron startup by Iceborn Travelers, which is not spotted.
It's going to get spotted here with the Syndra walking over. You can see
Syndra's on their team, right? Oh, I see what you're saying. I got you. Oh,
yeah, there was a ward in mid that they spotted the Syndra walking over, so they had a decent idea it was happening. That's
Tonzo.
A 3-man push. That was nice.
Do it, Tonzo. You got the rocket on the back end. Of course, right now you are getting shredded a little bit. Good gun collection by Verticality, and then you throw in that Inferno, but it does no damage. It hit 2, didn't do enough, and that's going to be ready to go ahead and slay down that Cyclone, and sure that the other two are zoned off. The zoning and the threats are just too good. It's a triple kill for Waff as they waffle their way to a nasty score, 5-1-5, and it's Omega Gooners to start the Baron.
All right, so we've had pancakes, now we have waffles. Are we, I mean, I'm feeling hungry for breakfast now.
I want food in general. That's what I want, and I think Gooners are saying the same. They are pushing this game to a brink of just like, we got something to do after this.
Yeah. It really does feel like that. I wish I had Waffle House in my area. Unfortunately, Southern California does not have Waffle House because you've made me want Waffle House talking about pancakes and waffles. But yeah, so they're serving themselves up some flapjacks, serving themselves up some burgers, but it's clean gameplay once again, right? Like they set themselves up with a 9,000 gold lead here, almost 9,000 gold lead for themselves. They've been clinical in how they've been taking down these turrets. They're not overstepping any at all. These fights have been clean by them, only giving up 1 or 2 picks in exchange for 3, 4, or 5. It's hard to look at what they need to do better because they've been doing everything so well, except for maybe vision setup around some of these objectives. For the side of Iceborn, I liked the Baron call. Unfortunately, it didn't work for them. I think they needed to do something, and that was really a desperation Baron that they needed to try because they are just bleeding across this map every single resource they have.
I mean, where do you put the Band-Aid when every single part of you is bleeding? That's the big question. How are you going to patch this up? At this point, you are hoping Verticality can get even more farm in them and be able to grab, 3.5, 4 items, start bleeding through, or start cutting through a lot of these dangerous members. BurgerKing getting caught out here, 1, 5, and 2, by the way, not having that robust damage that we are hoping for. Dragon is up, by the way. Dragon is currently sitting up and available to take, and no one really wants to aim that way just yet. Wanting to ensure this Baron gets the most use for their time frame because they still have about 1.5 minutes left on it. Might as well keep going. Garrett also trying to run interference, but I like that call.
Yeah, you don't need everybody there to kind of keep this pressure. The 3 that they had was perfect. Now, Ritty did go for the Black Cleaver second, so doesn't quite have the explosive damage, but is slowly taking this Hextech Dragon down. It'll be the second of the game. I don't think we're going to see a third. With how oppressive they've been, I'd be surprised. This Jinx went rapid fire second. I don't mind that. I think that's still a very good pick. Gives them even more range, especially to dodge out on these Scatter the Weaks, to be wary and be able to sit a little bit farther back from the grand entrances of the Rakan. So very well done in terms of the itemization there as well. It's all about now just playing out, keeping these minions not from crashing their base. You want them crashing into the base. And taking down these turrets. They've been doing it super clean so far. A few seconds left on the Baron before it crashes out, and they're cracking the base now, and that's exactly what you want to do with the first Baron.
I mean, there's no chance. This is not even just a crack. This is just a full-on destruction. That is going to be the clone getting some help, and in the backline, Tonzo goes and says, yo, what happened to holding me up? There ain't no way. Double kill for the Jinx. Make it a double for the Kasance. It's a full house of kills, and Omega Gooners get the ace. It is a cleanup prior to 25 minutes as they will wash through their opening series here in the Crunch Time Infinity League.
Really, really well done from Omega to stamp their legacy so far on this season with just such a commanding victory of the game. I mean, very clean gameplay, very from open to close. Never, they were down a little bit in game one. They had a little bit of a weaker early game there, but I think that was more towards the Iceborn Travelers having a better early game composition and playing it out that way. And then in game two, it never felt like they were out of control on the side of Omega. They were always in control, always knowing where they needed to be, trading across the map, getting the kills onto key members, and just slowly choke holding the game once again.
It was just that good, and honestly, I couldn't see it any other way. I'm not even gonna ask who should be MVP because I think Ritty just stole it by a mile as much as Tonzo and everyone else put up good numbers. Ritty is a monster, and if anyone is ever to look at this squad at Omega Gooners and say who do we need to worry about, it's that jungle. So much pressure, so much damage applied. And it was a fantastic series to watch from start to finish. I'm excited to see how the rest of the season breaks out. Of course, that'll be it from us. Ice, any final words? I'll give you the final floor. Anything that you want to say about these two squads or interesting to see about the players?
No, I mean, Ritty just played an excellent game, showing two sides of the same coin. Two still very aggressive junglers, but one that wants to deal damage and one that wants to be a little bit more utility oriented towards the team with that Black Cleaver and the Triforce rather than just getting in, dueling it out, duking it out, throwing haymakers and taking them down. So very well done to Ritty there. And yeah, I mean, very well played to the entire team of Omega Gooners. Congratulations to them on taking their first 2-0 series of this Infinity League season. And I mean, there's not much more I can say. I'm just excited to see what we have in the coming weeks.
I hope it's going to be good. Right now, though, we are going to go and get ourselves some rest. So my name has been Orbital. With me has been Ice, Fire, right? And of course, Chippy on production. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Crunch Time Infinity League. And we'll see you all next time.